back, in, back, in, back, in, back, in. Gangin' and bangin', since me youngin', leaving.
Hello and welcome to Chick Chat Live. My name is Cornelia, and on the first segment of the show today, we are talking about embracing ambiguity. The hot topic of the day is friendship breakups. You just have some girlfriends that, after a while, you start to get a little tired. So we're talking about the right ways to identify low-value behavior in people and high-value behavior in people without cutting off people too soon. Joining me in the studio today are some lovely actors and filmmakers. I have with me Marie Humbert. I just absolutely love everything about you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actor.
Yes.
Mami Ajay, also an actor. And Nicole Amartefio. Wait, how's my Ghanaian? How's my Ghanaian?
Ghanaian something I don't even pronounce.
Just walk me through it again.
Amartefio.
Amartefio. Okay. And TV producer and filmmaker.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So we have a new tradition. I need you guys to pick one number each between 2 and 12. And then we're going to roll the dice to see who goes first.
Okay.
Well, you have to say that. You have to say
9.
Okay. 6. Okay.
7.
Okay. Who wants to do the honors? Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Nicole.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't want to go first.
Who was 6?
That was
You were 6. So you have to go first. So before let me just give you some background. I've gone through periods of not being sure, periods of uncertainty when you've probably lost a job or, you're switching career and you're not quite sure the path to toe. I want to sort of get a sense of one, whether you've kind of been through that period and how you've kind of come to a place of accepting it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that there's a cure.
Yeah. Well, I think a couple things. I think it's your body and the world sending you a message that you need to rest. That you
To
need
just stop.
Yeah, just to stop. Go on vacation. And I'm not talking about an expensive vacation.
I was about to say, if you can afford it.
Even if it's 30 minutes outside your city or if it's a staycation, it's just your body telling you that you need to regroup and reorganize emotionally.
So do you have like a mental block? And how do you get out of your head?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a big to-do list person.
Okay.
And you could tell that when I'm feeling at my best, usually that to-do list is long. But when I'm not feeling at my best, my to-do list, just one thing a day.
Yeah, you just don't want to do it.
But just one thing a day. And even if I wait till 11 p.m. to do it,
so you're still doing, you're still technical, but
yes,
you don't put pressure on yourself to do all.
You know why I'm still doing? Because while you're feeling low, the universe and the life around you is still working.
Yeah.
If you have a 6-week low period, when you get that call 6 weeks, that something's ready for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to be able to say, "Oh no, I've been lying in bed for the last 6 weeks. I'm not ready," or do you want to be like, "I'm prepared. Tell me where to go. Tell me what time."
Yeah.
You need to get out of those moments prepared for that call because the call is coming.
Okay. So let me ask you, Marie, if you agree, in agreement, what is the preparation? How do you, I'm just stuck. This is like a life stuck. I am unsure about my future. I'm unsure about the next phase of my career. You're waiting for that next big thing to happen. And you just feel like there somewhat is a depressive, phase to just not knowing.
But the thing is that's the reality of being an actress.
Okay.
You just have to, I've made that decision a long time ago, and I knew that was going to be my, my fate.
You knew, but was it different from the reality?
Of course. You always, obviously, the older you get as well, you're chasing the dream, and, the more tired you are, the more no's you've been having.
Yeah.
But there's strength in that as well, of course, because of everything that you've experienced.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a better actress today than I was 5 years ago. And that's because of the experiences that I've had. And also realizing that sometimes when you're chasing after something and it's just not happening, maybe you're not chasing for the right thing. So, and I really, really do believe in how do you say it, in accidents or mistakes being actually bringing forth something so much better. But just dealing with depression is something that I'm used to. I deal with depression. I've been dealing with depression for a very, very long time. I think since I was like 16 or something. And I don't know if there is like a, how do you say it, a recipe to like...
There's no fix.
There's no fix. It's just with time, obviously,
You learn to deal.
you get better, you get stronger. Having people that influence you in a good way, having a strong support system, girlfriends that are there no matter what, that you can trust.
Yeah.
That's really helpful, because being depressed and not having anybody to talk to is the worst.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to, in some ways, embrace the fact that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna have to deal with it, and find strength in that, that you are powerful enough to go through that.
Yeah.
I think.
Now, Mommy, I know you've switched career from corporate, to the creative. Checks are different, lifestyle is different. You do have your freedom though, so that's definitely one of the key things. What was your biggest struggle in the transition?
I mean, in the beginning, it was just figuring out what I wanted to do. You talk about ambiguity. I felt that yesterday, and I think people usually.
So it's continuous.
It's constant, and I think that the first thing is you have to accept that it's part of life.
Okay.
That's part of the life process. Living life is going through all these things. So once you accept that, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. This is part of the process. What's the next step? And so for me, it was like figuring out what I wanted to do, because I moved because I wanted to figure out what my passion was. So that was a completely ambiguous time for me, but. At that time, there was no fear because I had made the decision to find this thing. So I was open to whatever the universe brought. Yeah. And that's still how I deal with anxiety, depression, ambiguity today. It's like, what is this moment trying to tell me, right? Because there's a lesson in it all. When something doesn't go right, there's a reason, right? You have to see what that is. Somebody told me something really great. They said if something you want doesn't happen, you just say thank you, right? Thank you. Because there's a reason that didn't happen for you. Thank you for whatever is coming next. And I think once you start sort of turning these really confusing moments into just seeing it in a different way, like positively, it just helps.
But it doesn't feel so positive though.
It doesn't. It doesn't in the moment. It doesn't. It can feel
yeah.
drowning. Sometimes I'm in my bed. I don't come out. The whole 24 hours. I don't even answer my phone.
Yeah.
But because I know that's part of the process, I know that tomorrow, hopefully, it will be a different day.
Yeah.
My energy will be up. I'll be more focused. So it's just about going through it
and managing it as best as you can.
But even in those moments, like, I still need that to-do list.
Because you have to get technical. Like that's
even if it's like, I need a shower today.
Right. Yes.
And even if that shower doesn't happen until 11 p.m.
You still shower.
It's something, and then afterward, I feel like I've accomplished something, and I feel a little happy in that moment.
I do understand, because I mean, in the world of level up, you have to stay ready, because first of all, the level up thing, I'm not even up. I'm trying to get up. Not level up is a whole nother. We're not there yet. Right. But you were talking about finding, yourself, and I think we've gotten through this wave of nobody wants to work for anybody anymore. Everybody wants to find this purpose. What's your purpose? I'm like, if I hear that thing one more time, like sometimes you just land into your passion or purpose. I don't think it's something that you necessarily find. It's not in the cupboard. You know what I mean? So can you speak to how you landed into what currently feeds you and what kind of makes you happy?
Life sends you messages. So, I mean, I remember being young. I remember being about 6 years old and living in, I'm a Ghanaian, but I lived in New York. And I remember watching the news. And I remember being like, hold on. Every time I hear about the continent of Africa, I don't think I was saying the word continent. Yeah. But anytime, Africa came into the news, it was negative. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to change that, right? Then fast forward 20 years later, I was back in Ghana, sitting in my parents' house in Accra, and watching Sex and the City. And I was like, hold on. Yeah. This is the answer. Yeah. What would Sex and the City look like in Ghana? And that story will help me to, fight the goal that I thought about when I was 6 years old. So just life messages.
Did you think at that time of the risk, or you just ran with the passion? And what was the step? What was the step one? Because you, for me, sometimes I feel like I'm sitting there waiting for big money. I'm waiting for this money to happen. You're just waiting for that money. And that money, I keep saying, it doesn't come. So what is the step you take when you know this is $20,000, but you got 50?
Right. 50.
50. No, 50. It's 50. So what is the step you take? Right. What's the bravery? Where does that calculate? It's like a calculated risk, and
Yeah, it was a big risk, but what I will say is I did it. Like I wanted to die knowing
With
I
that to do,
did
you started with that to-do list.
But I just wanted to know that I did something. Listen, I remember I was working actually at the World Bank and the building shook. And I remember as we walked down from the 7th floor to the bottom floor, I was like, I never got to create the show I wanted to create. You know, so for me, it was just that before I die, I want to do something that, I risked it all.
Yeah.
For me, it paid off.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind risking it all. Then fast
like that
forward,
word,
we
risk it
were
all, yeah.
on a plane, South African Airways. Sorry if I'm ruining a sponsor's
Plug.
name. But the turbulence, there was some terrible turbulence.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
was,
Okay.
I
So
was
it was-
okay.
yeah.
I was okay.
I was okay.
Because I had
You had done
fulfilled my
like,
dream.
yes,
I'd
yes.
done something. I made a risk, and so I was okay.
Well,
God, if
that's-
you take me now.
Well, Bobby, this seems like you were so sure about it at the time. You were like, I still have work to do.
Yeah, I mean, every time I'm on a plane in this turbulence, I think I'm gonna die.
Die,
I don't know if that's what that's about. But yeah, I think you talk about sort of needing something and feeling like you don't have the resources to start it. And there's this, people say this thing like, you just start it, you don't need money.
Yeah.
And before I was like, that doesn't really make sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, Cornelia, if you wanted to start something now, if you looked within your network,
Yeah. Yes.
you would find
Yes.
opportunities that will start you on your journey.
Yes.
And that's something that I learned recently. It's like once you
Using your
start
network.
it
Yeah.
and just consistently
One
work
foot in
towards
front
it,
of it.
one foot in front of it,
Things come.
things come, speak to people,
Yes.
put it out there,
Yes.
reach out,
Yes.
reach in.
Yes.
Then you start, you're like, oh my God, it's happening, it's happening. So that's the thing, like a lot of people see people who have succeeded and automatically we think they started from already up and
Yes.
now they just know.
Yes.
It's like you start from the ground up, do that work.
Yes.
And it will happen. Like I really believe that.
Just to add to that, because I think it was Issa Rae who said a lot of people are concerned with networking up and not networking across.
Across, exactly.
Because there's a lot of people across that can
Yeah.
do some dope stuff for you,
Yeah.
but everybody keeps looking up
Yeah.
to be, I want Oprah to be my mentor. She don't have time for you right now. She's not responding to that email.
But the money is so much more worth it when you know that you've like hustled.
Yeah, you've done the
Do you know
work.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you really hold on to that money and you're like, I worked so hard for this. And like when you pay for that holiday, you're like,
Yes.
You know what I mean? When you go buy that bag, you went to go buy that bag. It's your money you're using. It's not whatever. So there's a great feeling that comes with that. So I think that it's definitely worth it. Nothing is more worth it than doing it on your own.
Basically, I'm okay with saying I don't know, what's happening next. And I find that, especially because acting is so much of a make-believe situation, I find that in real life I tend to not try to tell too many tales or, tell too many lies or build up some kind of story. So when somebody asks me a question, I'm just like, I'm sorry, but I really don't know. And this is technically how it works. As an actor, majority of the time you don't normally know what next you're going to do. You might have a gig that's coming up after another gig. That can change in like the blink of an eye. They could call you on the morning of production and just be like, sorry, we had an issue. We can't shoot right now. This is going to have to be postponed for the next 3 weeks. Are you going to kill yourself? Not really. So yeah, these things, you get comfortable with saying, I don't know, let's just see what happens.
First of all, the way I see the world, I don't see the world as black and white. In my opinion, it's shades of gray and maybe even a lot of shades of different colors. And I kind of apply that to my life as well. So I'm never surprised at myself when I realize that something that I really thought I wanted to do 2 years ago, I have zero interest in now. And it's kind of played out in my life. I've wanted to be so many different things at so many different times. So to kind of take you back a bit, back in secondary school, there was a point I wanted to be a lawyer. I was so sure that's what I wanted to do. Then I wanted to be a meteorologist. Because I know it's weird because I just wanted to be on CNN, and at the time there was this weather lady that I loved on CNN, and I just thought, to be on CNN and to be like her, I have to do what she's doing. So I wanted to be a meteorologist for the shortest period in my life, even though I was horrible at the sciences. Then I wanted to be an ambassador. I just thought that was going to be my future and that's going to be my life, a career diplomat. And I took that into university. I ended up studying international relations. By my third year, I realized that I don't think I want to be an ambassador or a career diplomat anymore. Now I want to work in HR. My mom was working in HR, so it just kind of made sense. So I got out of school. I put all of my energy into making sure I found what I thought was my dream job, which at the time was a job with Accenture. Like it was Accenture or nothing. I tried, I didn't make the interview, I didn't make the recruitment process rather, and I ended up working at Deloitte as a HR consultant, which was pretty good. It was Deloitte and I was happy. 2 months down the line, the excitement stopped. I loved the people that I worked with, but I just wasn't excited to get out of bed every morning anymore. And even in Lagos, that getting out of bed in the morning is not 7 a.m., it's 5 or 5:30. So I started to look again, and I decided that I was going to be very conscious about my happiness. And a huge part of your happiness comes from doing what you do every day.
I feel like now I'm able to deal with not knowing what is going to happen next, but that wasn't always the case. I feel like I've gotten to a certain level of maturity, so I'm able to deal with that. So before I even go into talking about how I'm able to deal with it, beforehand I was like the worrier. I'm always worried about something, and I'm a planner, so I need to know what my 5-year plan is, even if it's not going to go according to plan, but just have those things written down. But I'm in an industry where, like, I'm an actor. You don't, like, unless you're on a Friends type show or something, and you're going to be on for 7 seasons, how do you plan your life? So I was a worrier, and sometimes I would get almost sick with worry. I go for an audition, waiting to hear back. I've gotten past the next 2 rounds. It's between me and 3 other girls. And I'd be thinking, oh, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? And I found that it was taking its toll on me. The way I've been able to combat that, and now I'm okay with not knowing what my next steps are, is I found God. I mean, I know some people might be like, oh my God, that's a cliche. But honestly speaking, and if you'd spoken to me about 5 years ago and someone was telling this story, I'd just be like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But that's basically what happened to me. I became a lot more spiritual, and I know that there is something bigger and better than me, and my creator is in charge of my future. So I have that faith. So now, I mean, if I don't know, like, can I say timelines? Times I was going to say December. We're in December. Is that okay? Okay. So like, it's beginning of December now, and if you ask me what I'm doing in 2019, I don't know. But beforehand, I would be panicking that, oh my goodness, it's the end of the year. What's my plan for next year? What jobs am I going to get? But I feel like through prayer, through meditation, through reading my Bible, I have this level of faith where I know I'm going to be okay. I know that God has my back. So I don't really worry anymore.
I think my biggest struggle leaving the financial industry was missing the paycheck. And your lifestyle that you've created, which is fresh out of college, fresh out of university, you're working at full time, you were making decent money. And then you couldn't even go on vacation, because I don't even remember living my best life that much when I was making the big money. And then it's like, you have all the time in the world and you don't have that money. How did you did you have to lower your lifestyle? Because, for me, having my natural hair don't work throughout, because that was like, these bundles be costing money. You know what I mean? So like, I really had to be honest with myself and go low maintenance. And I did a lot of self-talk, because for a split second, I started to feel insecure when I wasn't able to do the things like, you see your friends going on trips. Oh, girl, you coming? No. Can't afford it. Can't afford it. And how do you get comfortable with being broke?
You have
to be honest. They get comfortable with being broke.
That's your reality at the time, right? I mean, for me, I think I've always been low maintenance.
Okay.
So my biggest thing was I went from having, like, when I said I was broke, that meant I had some savings.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not touching my savings.
See, everyone has different levels.
That was my, like, if I say I'm broke, I still have my money that I don't want to touch.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Ghana, and like, when I say I'm broke, don't call me and say, let's go for drinks, but that's, I mean, it is what it is. What can I do?
Yeah.
I think that if I felt like I wasn't working on coming back and being financially free and traveling, then that would be depressing, right? But because I know that I'm working on something that moves me, that's my passion, that I know is going to to happen, it's easier. But I think that it's important to also have friends around you who understand that, you know? So if my friend calls me and says, let's go to Santoku, I can say, sis, I don't have that money right about now, maybe in 2 months, you know? So I think it's just being honest with where you are and living within your means.
That's a good way to end it. And that's all we have time for. We'll be right back with the hot topic of the day. Stay with us.
Detaching from long-term but low-value friendships can be difficult. How do you attract high-value people into your life? And how do you make solid judgments about people without writing people off too soon? Here's a story. My friend Amma has been in my life for about 20 years. We have fought over time over the silliest things, but it has become a high-drama friendship I can no longer deal with. In growing and adulting, I've realized I'm responsible for my energy and the energy I allow around me. Some things that have happened in our relationship were never confronted, and I can no longer play like her behavior is okay. She has very selfish tendencies and tends to make almost everything about her. I find her incredibly convenient, as she likes most things to take place around her schedule, location, and even time. When my mom passed away recently, she showed up, she was physically there, but not in the way that I felt supported. She was emotionally inept and never really asked me how I was faring, and the silence dissipated throughout the months. She's not a bad person. She's charming, fun-loving, and carefree. These are some of the qualities I've admired about her, but she just never expresses much interest in my life and the things that I go through, because she always jumps straight into issues that concern her. I rarely volunteer tales of my life struggles or express much vulnerability. I have walked her through family feuds, a relationship entanglement with a married man, work drama, and lots more. I feel like I have different needs in my life right now, and she's not holding my interest much longer. The glory days of our friendship seem more and more distant. I know friendships are completely voluntary and I can decide to do what I want. She was not sensitive to my moods or emotions around the time my mother died, and I'm just generally over her. It takes significant energy to listen to her tales, as she rarely ever admits responsibility for her part in things. Listening to her more deeply has changed the way I view her. The reality is, I operate more in isolation and tend to internalize my problems as I grow older. I discuss some of my struggles with the few people I find giving of their time and who are emotionally available. There are very few people in my life who I can rely on to help shoulder the burdens of adulthood, and I'm becoming more comfortable with this smaller circle. The problem is, my change has happened so rapidly, and I'm not sure how she would take my distance, as I need more friendships that reciprocate compassion and aren't risky to my emotional health. I care about her, but she has become more of an obligation, and our friendship is neither balanced nor healthy. Is it necessary to table this matter and officially end the friendship when I know without a doubt that her temperament would receive it the wrong way? Or should I just maintain the distance and let the friendship drift away?
Welcome back, guys. Now you've heard the story. Let's find out what our studio guests have to say. Now, Marie, I'm just going to go straight into it and ask you how you feel. I mean, which side do you want to speak to? Have you been on either? Have you been the friend that is so dependent, like that is needy? Or have you been that friend that's kind of like, girl?
I have been in situations where I also felt like my friends were not, how to put it? Because I also feel like sometimes it's your own fault, in the sense that I'm not somebody that automatically shares my feelings straight away. And so I think that I keep a lot of stuff for myself, and then all of a sudden I keep it to myself all the time. And then at one point I explode, and I expect my friend to have, to have supported me, and to have known and all this time that I was struggling, or that I was. And a friend of mine, I remember having, a fight with one of my best friends, and she told me, but you never told me. You never told me anything, and you acted like everything was perfectly fine. Or I could see that you were struggling with something, but I didn't want to ask you because I didn't feel like, I felt like if you needed to talk to me about it, you would come and talk to me about it. So I feel like sometimes the best thing is to have a conversation, first of all. You know what I mean? Like, if you feel like your friend is letting you down, don't let it, don't let it add up, and just kind of like deal with it at the
junction. But I think that a lot of I guess the question I want to ask is, how do you identify low value behavior, and what are you basing low value on? Because when someone is doing something to you that actually hurts, and you know the person doesn't mean it. This person has been your friend. Because sometimes you're friends with people based on circumstance, just because we went to school together. And there's years of friendship in it. There's family members, there's cousins. You're almost like family friends. It's very difficult to just say, you've been doing this ish for 20 years, and I've accepted it as you, but sometimes it's just not okay. What are the words you would say? What is low value behavior for you?
Okay, so I also want to say that, the older you get, the less ish you take. Do you get what I'm saying? In the sense that, I'm sorry, but today, if it's like, that's it. I don't care. I don't care about telling a friend, listen, it's not working anymore. In the sense that, we're just drifting apart and we're in two different worlds. But okay,
What's low value behavior?
What's low value behavior? I definitely feel, which comes back to the story, listening is a very big thing. I mean, I definitely do. I've been in situations where I'm telling my friend stories and like she's not looking at me or she's on her phone or whatever. And most definitely I feel like listening is a big thing. And it doesn't require you, I mean, it's not just about sitting down and, drinking wine together. It's about really being there and supportive and giving advice and, and being, how do you say it? And backing you up a little bit, I feel as well, because I don't necessarily feel like a right friend. I definitely prefer friends that are honest and brutally honest, but also also respecting my feelings as well. Also respecting the fact.
With some compassion.
Exactly.
So there are people who struggle with non-question asking friends. Do you feel like you just? Because I just volunteer my problems. I mean, like I'm always ready to talk. So depending on your personality, do you feel like you've had those and you kind of took it as they don't care? Or are you a volunteer problem sharer like me?
I'm a non-volunteer.
Okay, friend. So you don't say. Okay.
Yes, and so I think.
So you're on the other side of this.
I'm on the other side, right? So, but at the same time, even non-volunteer friends have an expectation. Even though they're not volunteering, they hope that their friends see through this mass and reach out. Yeah. But I think that as I've got, tall order though. Yeah, it's a tall. That's what I'm saying. It's complete and it's unfair. Yeah, it's unfair. Yeah. But as I've grown up, I think what I've learned is, we shouldn't go into friendships with like set expectations. You should go into friendships knowing each individual, right? So I know I have a friend who, if I spoke, she would be there in a second. If I didn't, she's entwined in her own world. It doesn't mean that she doesn't care about me. So I think I just start to deal with friends individually based on who they are. And I think that makes it easier, because if you have a blanket expectation that I don't speak about my problems, but you're my friend, so you should know that I'm struggling and you haven't called me and immediately I'm going to cut you off because of that, that's completely unfair. That's not to say it's easy. It's like you still, sometimes you're in the depths of like really being low and you just wish somebody would just come out of nowhere.
Pull you out,
That's not the way it works in reality. And like, I'm really bad at keeping up with people. Like that's 100%. And I'm sure that I have friends sitting somewhere right now thinking.
And I think sometimes the resentment starts to build, because when you're the friend on the other side and you're actually screaming for the emotional attention and people don't give it to you, it starts to build resentment. And with this particular story, I don't think the girl was completely resentful, but she just wished. And then it was just time over time, it just became, when I look at this thing as a whole, it benefits you. I'm more of a friend to you than you're of a friend to me.
Right.
But I think it's very important to stress the fact that it's repetitive.
Yes.
Because if it happens once, like for example,
you can be mad at a friend once because she really didn't pay attention to you. But if it's something that's repetitive, if you're constantly going to be nagging on her and being like, oh, you didn't check up on me, you didn't call, I broke up, and that becomes a problem. And the same way, the other way around as well. If your friend constantly doesn't care or doesn't ask questions or does, you know what I mean? Like you do need those moments where where your friendship is validated though. Do you get what I'm saying?
But sometimes I think what people expect as validation is very different than what you think is validation. Like I had a friend, I had a friend who, she sent me a Christmas card and I didn't acknowledge receipt of the Christmas card for months. And that was a big issue for her in the friendship. And for me at that time, I was like, it's a Christmas card. This is not an issue.
It's not a life issue,
But then knowing who she is, I knew that she was the kind of person who those things mean something to her. But at the time, I just wasn't even willing to even come forward.
Like I have
with
problems.
It. Yeah, exactly.
When I first heard the story, the first thing that came to my mind was that Bible passage that says, remove the log from your eye before you remove the speck from somebody else's eye. I thought it was interesting that she kept going on and on about how her friend hadn't grown and how she had grown. And my thought was, well, if you've grown so much and you know that she's this particular way, why do you keep having these expectations from her? Shouldn't you have grown to the point where you would realize that she can't give you what you're expecting? So maybe you should channel those expectations to somebody else who is more able to deliver, and then just take your friend for who she is. Because if that friendship meant anything to you, changing the way that the friendship works has to mean something to you. I understand being tired, and this is not, I'm not saying, I've sat down with friends, we've tried to have conversations around issues that have affected us. Some people have been open to it, and when they've been, I've been like, okay, yeah, we found a way to move forward. Some other people have just been like, you know what, I don't want to have this conversation. And I'm like, okay, then we'll just find a new way to be friends. And that new way might mean that I might not call you as often, you know, it might mean that it doesn't mean I stop being friends with you, but it just means that whatever it was I was receiving from you before, I will try and channel that separately, because this is obviously something that you don't want to deal with. So if you feel that you are in a superior place of intellect, I would think that your superior place of intellect will be able to tell you what to expect from a certain friend and what not to.
This exact same thing happened to me, and I think it's very difficult when you've been friends with someone for a long time, because that tends to be the issue. It's almost like the person is kind of like your sister, but not, because you start to think to yourself, why am I taking this crap? Why am I being treated like this? So I'm on the detached side simply because you cannot continue to give and give and give, and the other person just take. Now, I'm not saying you're going into the friendship to see what you can get out of that friend, but it has to be mutually beneficial to some extent. I mean, I'm on a low, I'm talking to you, I need you to pep me up. You're on a low, you're talking to me, I will try and pep you up. I will come over. Maybe I'm not the best talker. I'll come over, I'll bring you some cookies, make you feel better. I'll come spend some time with you. I will help you out. Like, I cannot be in a friendship with someone, this is me personally, where the person continues to take and take and take and take to the point that you're drained and you're drained. I had a similar friendship where this happened, and it wasn't even so much of a taking, it was just there was a certain character trait that she had, and I withstood it for such a long time because we were friends for so long. When you're ready to let a friendship grow, it's not even a big thing that's happened, it's something so small, but it's small but significant, and it gets to the point where I don't believe that you have to have a conversation about it. And when you let go of a friendship, I don't think letting go is like I'm cutting you off, I'm deleting you. I'm not like that. Like, I mean, when it happened to me, I didn't delete anything. I didn't even say this friendship is over. I just moved away. You want to hang out, I'm unavailable, because it felt like every time we would sit down and have a conversation, the same thing would happen. Okay, 6 months time, you're being petty, you're doing things behind my back, I'm hearing stuff about myself that you're talking to other people about. My friend has my best interest at heart, and if you don't, I am too old, too tired, too busy to be dealing with friendship drama at this point in my life.
To be very honest, it's a tough one, because on the one hand, I feel like it's easy to say cut her off, you know, your sanity is important, you have to think of yourself, put yourself first. But on the other hand, what if this was your sister? Just what if? And what if your sister had all of these horrible character traits? She's your sister. She's family, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think because of me, because of the kind of person I am, because of how importantly I view my friendships, my friends, my girls, they're not my friends, they are my sisters, you know. And the way I see it, we're riding till we die, and that's the honest truth, you know. So I don't know what would happen that would make me completely cut. It's a very tough one for me, to be honest. I don't think I can confidently say you need to cut her off and that's it. I really can't, because some people are just imperfect. It's just what it is.
Every year, it would come to the end of the year, and I would take stock of my life, and this thing there was this thing in my head or in my heart that I kept feeling about, that I felt like I needed to let this friendship go. And I would say, no, you've been friends for so long, stick at it, forgive. And I would continue to forgive. And there's nothing, you can forgive and you can let go of the person. That's one thing I've learned. Forgiveness does not mean that the person should be around you, especially when the person is toxic.
Yeah.
No, I'm Team Amma.
Yeah.
Because the caller is expecting Amma to be a mind reader. Amma is not a mind reader.
I understand, but she's
For 20 years?
No.
Yeah,
20 years.
But when you've been there for someone,
Somebody, yes.
she's
walked you through so much and all their mess.
Amma was there. You said Amma came to your mother's funeral.
Not in the way that you expect. You
Yeah.
can show up but not show up.
No. But
Yeah.
once again, communication.
Right. Yeah.
Listen, for Amma, it's awkward.
But how
maybe
do I-
she's never handled death, all these
Yeah.
things. Or maybe she remembers her grandmother who died. And so this is all. So I just
much
feel
for her,
like,
yeah.
and I feel like in a death, the person's handling it the best way they know how. She showed up. So rather, I have questions about your controlling behavior. That you're now controlling how your friend showed up, one.
I don't think so.
But then you have to communicate it with your friend. You have to say, you know what? During this difficult time, this is what I need. Can you give this to me?
Yeah,
And
but
then
I
give
feel
her
like
give
sometimes
her an opportunity to say, you know what? I love you so much. But of course,
sometimes
I would give that to you.
I think I don't want to solicit the emotional appeasing or whatever I need. I think sometimes that's when it's like my friend was just there. I didn't have to explain. She was just there. Sometimes and that's an expectation too that not everybody fulfills. But I think sometimes you don't want to have to narrate a whole story about how you feel. Like she might have showed up physically for the funeral, but maybe it was about I just wanted you to call me. You weren't sensitive, or you're calling me and you want to talk pop culture. I just lost my mom and I'm not quite there. And understanding that this person is going, like their moods might change. So do I have to explain to you like, okay, my mom's died and you know, my mood is not so off. Like life just doesn't go on.
There are other people who need that. There are other people
Why
who
am I
like,
teaching you how to be a friend?
There are other people though who need that. There are other people who like take me out of this world. Talk to me
Yes.
about anything else but death.
True,
Talk to
true.
me about anything about my mother
Individual
dying.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You might be right actually, because sometimes my friends say I'm funny. So sometimes I'll just be the funny friend.
Right.
Because I'm actually not the friend you call when you want to cry.
Right.
And that doesn't
And
make
then
me
those
insensitive to your tears or whatever. But
Absolutely.
I'm just, and it's not because I'll cry too. Like I'll be tearing up, but I'll cry too. But I'm just not the shoulder. You know,
Right.
you have some soft friends where you're like, you just want to sulk.
Right.
And you have the friend that's good. I mean, Nicole, you seem like a cuddly, huggy kind of, you know, so maybe I'll call a Nicole if I just want to sulk and be babied. But there are some friends, you ain't calling Cornelia when you're going
Tell
to
me that. If we were friends, you're going to have to communicate that right now, I just need a hug.
I need
You're
a Nicole
gonna
hug.
Yeah, you're going to have to communicate. It's all about, I think it all goes back to communication.
I see where Nicole is coming from.
Yes.
I kind of think that person should realize that that's just how this person is. Do you get what I'm saying?
so that
I think
means-
she's expecting her to be somebody that she probably
Isn't.
is fantasizing about, but it's not in reality. Do you know what I mean?
I think she would just like certain behaviors to change. So I
Yeah.
guess that comes to a question of
Yeah, but if
how
she's
do you
always been
receive-
doing that.
How do you receive feedback from friends, and do you give feedback? So when you have to say, you know what, there's sometimes where I just feel you're selfish. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you have to like,
Yeah.
it's gonna feel like a stab. There's no nice way to criticize somebody as a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
and how they make you feel.
Yeah. For me,
You know?
everything, any relationship, whether it is with a lover or with a friend, it's about communication. For me, it's about communication.
So you
I don't
wouldn't
like bottling
distance, you would
things
say-
up.
you would say
I
so-
don't
so what
like,
would you say to
you know,
Amma?
feeling like I'm walking on eggshells. I don't like any of these. No,
So you're
I'm
open.
just all like, and I'm straight. And the thing is, the funny thing, the irony is that I'm an actress, but I really can't act in real life. Like when I'm angry, you're gonna see it.
Yes.
When I'm happy, you're gonna see it. When I'm like sad, you're gonna see it. So it's like, I'd much rather be straightforward and tell you what's going on than keep it for myself and everything. So sometimes, yes, you kind of regret it because you're talking to the wrong person, but then that's an eye opener, I feel. So I don't know. I'm very much about communication, and I think that answers all problems.
Have you ever had to cut someone off?
Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be transparent, I'm bad at communication.
Okay.
And because I sort of put all my feelings in, instead of communicating it, I will just remove myself. I've done that
so
in
you just
relationships,
you just ghost.
friendships. I disappear. I just disappear because I feel like it's just hard for me to speak on that. So I would rather just disappear and go and be in my corner. But again, growth, what I've learned is that it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense for having solid relationships, with having solid friendships. The communication is important, but that's difficult for me. So for me, if you're my friend, if you're in a relationship with me, you know that that's a hurdle for me. So we meet each other halfway, you know, and that's how things strengthen up.
I have friends that are exactly like you, and we are perfect, amazing friends because I just get that. You know what I mean? And I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna ask more of them, or I'm not gonna ask less of them. But I'm just gonna. I just know the nature of our friendship, and that's it.
I think it's just looking at intentions. You know, you have a friend that's not calling you. Why is she not calling? Is it because she doesn't want to be friends with you? Is it because she's a... Sorry, baby. You know, but if you know, no. Susie's not calling. But I know she's a solid friend. Like, if I called her right now, she would... It's just about
That's the case, though. Solid friends that just don't pick up the phone.
Yeah, so it's like you always have to look at people's intentions. And a lot of the times, people have beautiful intentions, and maybe just the way you're receiving who they are is just going against maybe what your experience is, and that's all.
But in this situation, I feel like the caller was just, I mean, even when she complained about every time they meet up, it's dependent on Ama's schedule and location and time.
Her convenience,
But once again, for 20 years, you've been doing that. You both decided to meet that day, that time, that place.
So do you think she's enabled the behavior, and now she's kind of... because you're a little compassionate to Amma, and I like that, because I'm on the other side. Like, I can't deal with this, is too much. But I like the fact that you're being compassionate with these friends.
And the way I see it, let me tell you why Amma's actually a good friend to you. Because she is busy, and she's making time to see you. She's making time for you.
She's still involved. She's still present.
Right? And once again, if
I don't agree with that. Because the caller is also making time.
Her convenience to see you.
But then you have to say it. But then you actually have to say it. You have to say it.
I agree with that.
If you're just saying, yes, I'll meet you at place X at time Y, you are making that decision with that person. You're agreeing to it. But so how's she supposed to know there's a problem?
No, but if
I think you can be sensitive, though. I don't think that you. I think sometimes you have to pick up hints. You know, I don't think everything has to be spelled out.
Not a mind reader. Not a mind reader. No hints. Don't tell me hints.
You really think that if you don't say, then it's your loss?
No hints.
Oh wow.
Tell me what you need, and I'll let you know if I can give it to you. And I probably would love to give it to you.
But for example, in certain situations, you need the help, but you just don't necessarily want to admit it. You know what I mean?
Then you can say that. You know what?
No, but you did.
It's hard to say certain things.
There's a conversation that's really hard to have. I don't know how to have this conversation. So just walk with me, baby steps. Maybe we can't have it all today, but there is a conversation I do feel like that we need to have that is hard. So just, can you help me work through this, navigate this?
Someone who's so emotionally mature, and you're
the woman says she's adulting. Adulting means growing up and getting being emotionally mature.
I think that the caller, I don't think that she's enabled this behavior for 20 years, but I think she's accepted.
Yes, you have.
She's
20 years?
She's accepted.
20 years?
She's accepted that this is the person because she's been her friend for 20 years. This is not the time where you're going to be like, oh, for 20 years you've been doing this, I'm retreating. You either accept that this is the person that's been your friend for 20 years and you deal with it that way, but then approaching, be like, listen, you've been doing this for 20 years. If I was her friend, I would be like,
I would feel
where's
attacked.
this coming from?
I would feel attacked.
I do feel like she's enabled it a little bit in the sense that she's just letting these things happen to her, and she doesn't recognize that she's not a person that can take that. Do you know that? You also need to know who you are and what you can take. When you're constantly going, it's like being in an abusive relationship. Like, do you know what I mean? You keep going for the guy, and the guy is like not treating you the way you want him to treat you. But you're still going. So at one point, you need to choose you and do you and move away from it.
You better say choose you.
That's like what I've been saying all month. Like,
choose yourself. Choosing self in various, like even relationships, and choosing self, people don't automatically choose self.
But that friend is that friend.
It's hard.
No, but that friend is that friend because you have not communicated with that person. In another relationship...
Well, at this point, I'm just not willing to communicate anymore. I'm done.
In another relationship...
I'm spent. I'm burnt out. I don't have the patience
in
for
another
it.
relationship, in another friendship, the friend might be very different because that friend has said, you know what? Sometimes I can't always meet it on your end. I need to meet on our end on Friday. Is that... Can we do that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know,
like sort of challenging her sometimes without allowing her get away get away with it. So you kind of had some wording of like a conversation needs to be had. So would that be like your opening? Because I think that's very appropriate. Like I'm just like, girl. And that's not always a good, sign where you have to do, especially when you do the I have to talk, because she's going to get on the phone with her other friends, tell the other friends, can you imagine what she just said? She's going to narrate how you said it, the things that you didn't even mean as deeply. She's going to narrate every little word. So what would be the right wording to sit, because it's a whole sit down, like we going to need some more wine? Like what is the sit down to break up? Because my approach is distance.
What, to break up the friendship?
To break up the friendship.
Oh, wow.
Because you were saying like we need to have this conversation. I'm like, okay, are you? Is that how you would?
Oh, I don't want to break up at all.
Oh, so you're just compassionate with Emma, Amma.
Yeah, I understand her perspective.
Okay.
Especially because this person hasn't communicated anything to her. But I think with tough conversations, I think you should actually start them that this is a tough conversation that I want to have, but I want you to know that I love you, and I want at the end of this conversation, let's discuss what we want to see at the end of this conversation. At the end of the conversation, I want us to be friends. I want us to be close.
But I mean, this happened to me with someone that I was really close to, like really close to. And to be honest, it was probably one of the best decisions. And it hasn't changed the heart that I have for her. But, we'd hang out every day and it'd be, creative. I had so much time on my hands. And we'd hang out every day and it's like, I was just always there. Oh, I made some food. Like, oh, let's hang out. I was just always there. And she had been doing things repeatedly and that's her person. But I don't think I'd settled with I didn't want to accept that was her person. And when I got tired of it, I chose distance. And I'm just cold.
You didn't have any conversation with her?
No conversation for 6 months. And this is a daily friend.
Ghosted her.
I wouldn't say I ghosted. So we'll do it like if she put up a nice.
Because
it's not ghosting. Yeah,
I understand ghosting
for 6 months, but I would do the Instagram like if it honestly was like a nice picture on Instagram. I would still like. I would still like her pictures. I wasn't being like stupid or silly. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to ignore you. But that's what I'm saying.
She's the guy had a conversation.
We never had a conversation.
She likes everything of yours on social media. Oh my God.
She didn't ask you.
6 months, but that was so telling for me though.
But I feel like
it was too telling. If you were okay with the silence for 6 months for somebody,
then that's being manipulative.
I wasn't being manipulative. I was actually okay to take the conversation, to take the friendship, because I just felt like I'm not pretending to be close with you. When if you know that on a normal day I would have been called you, like we would have been. So if you stretch this for 6 months and you're not going to say, girl, is there something wrong?
Yeah. Maybe she was feeling the same way you were feeling to ghost for 6 months.
Okay, so guess what? It turned around in my favor once, where like my birthday came and she sent me something nice, which is something we would usually do for each other, and it was like it was a dry thank you. Like from me. From me.
So you're still
Cornelia. I know, but I was hurt and I really didn't know how I was hurt, and the longer she left it, I was getting more hurt.
Because you were
I was genuinely like, because I love this girl.
But do you know you were hurting yourself?
Yeah, all of that. So I couldn't. So we eventually came to a place because the dry thank you, she just let it out. She was like, look, I was like, oh, 6 months later now you want to let it out? So then it was like neck rolling and attitude, you need to be sensitive. I've been stewing for 6 months. Right. And then take your dry high. I said, thank you for the gift.
So what did she say?
So she said if there's something, she was defensive at that point because she just felt like, peace offering, because she's probably thinking, she really didn't need to send me a gift. But it was just so normal of what we would kind of do for each other. And then she, sent me the gift again, dry high. And then I think she waited, for a couple of, I don't even think it was 3 hours. It's just like, she just couldn't take it. I could tell it was a bird because that's not her natural way to just say, if I've done something to you, then just say it. So she said that and I said, to be honest, I have been upset and I just felt like, I needed some time to myself because I didn't really think that she was intense. She didn't mean the things that she was doing. It's just her person. I just couldn't take it. And there were other things that had happened that she didn't mean to do or she didn't know how it was coming across. So we had to sit down. And, I started with the, I love you. And if there's anything about me that you might want to let out, this is a two-way thing, right? So don't feel like I'm just dumping all my feelings on you. And she took it fairly well. She cried about some things because I'm not sure. some of it involved like the same situation as Amma, like my mom had died or somebody had died in the family. It was kind of like, okay, well, yeah, but that still doesn't excuse like what you did to make, I understand that sensitive place. And she did make some changes. It was like, this is how I felt. And I honestly feel like she acknowledged my feelings, and that's the only reason why. The relationship is still not like all the way, the same, but I've learned to deal with her in love, and I take her at what she probably has been taking me at,
Is she watching this?
Okay. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for, guys. Join us next time on Chick Chat Live. If you'd like to follow the conversation, use the hashtag ChickChatLive. See you next time.